Good evening, friends. This is Toby Eunice with the Gypsy Kiss. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, don't we? So, stick with me. We'll talk. You can text. You can call. We'll have a good time. So, as you guys, many of you guys already know, my partner won't be in the chat room tonight because she's on the East Coast in Virginia. So they happen to be staying in a hotel that's about 5 minutes away from where my youngest daughter lives. But they're there for Shelley's daughter's wedding, and I think it's the paper part of the wedding. They're not actually going to be celebrating their wedding until 2 years, something like that. That was a decision they made. I guess that's to see if they actually make it or not. Who knows? Kids these days, huh? Which actually is a better idea than I think it's a better idea because all my daughters, the three of the four that are married, all had big weddings, and so they were big weddings, very nice weddings. We had a good time. So you should have seen a lot of this week's material. We had on Tuesday, we covered the territory around how far could a dying man have traveled to go and hide his treasure, and then we followed up with that on Wednesday with our panel, covered an additional amount of territory. Thursday, we had our effectively last book club, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. And then today we released another episode of It's All About You with the gentleman searcher Steve Gahagan from the beautiful state of Nebraska. And if he comes in tonight, remind him, I was just, when I opened up one of my browser windows, I was presented with an ad from Nebraska, and it's like an tourism ad. They took the opposite approach, like where, if you want to come out and visit us, we got these things. We're not just a bunch of flat land and corn. It was actually a very good advertising campaign. I'm looking forward to. Is that Shelley Carney? Hey, Shelley Carney, hi. Driving. Oh, she says she's driving back to the hotel. So I stand corrected. Shelley Carney is in the chat room, which is a good thing because she brings a lot of light to wherever she's at. So, Shelley, if you get a chance, fill us in. How are things going out on the East Coast? My old stomping grounds. That's where I lived and raised my children and worked in downtown D.C. on K Street. So, a lot of good things. I have very pleasant memories of 98% of my time there. The 2% that aren't pleasant memories have to do with the traffic, which I think Kevin and Shelley are finding out is not the best. The Beltway is really the most remarkable transportation medium on the face of the planet, but man, it backs up in a second. So you can be on that thing for hours. So that was the funny thing about living in Washington D.C. If you had like I wanted to be in my office by 8:30, 9 o'clock. But you couldn't predict that. You on any given day, you couldn't predict whether it was going to take you 45 minutes or 3 hours and 45 minutes, either to go in or to come back out of downtown D.C. So tonight is open conversation night, and the way you enjoin the conversation, as they like to say in the military, I used to like to say in the military, is you send me a text message to 1-800-947-1043. You can see that right there, 1-800-947-1043. The phone lines are open, so if you'd rather have a conversation, please feel free to do so. Call me, and we'll talk. I want to make sure my mixer says that is correct, and indeed, yeah, phone lines are open. So give me a call. Let's talk about Fenn stuff and what's going on and all the things. all the things. So let me, I want to reiterate something that I said yesterday. And that was yesterday, oops, give me a second. My boss jock just went off, and it's because I didn't set it to never. Just give me 1 second here. Otherwise, it'll keep going off on me. There we are. Ah. Being a technical director and the talent simultaneously is complex, busy. So I wanted to reiterate kind of what we said yesterday, what I said yesterday, and now that Shelley's in the room, she might be able to tell you more about what our plans are. So yesterday was the final episode of the book club, The Thrill of the Chase. There was some conversation, and for those of you that I gave the impression that we were going to continue with the other two memoir. Shelley and I had a long conversation this last weekend, and we decided not to proceed with that. We really felt like there were other things that we wanted to explore, other areas we wanted to explore, and we had built a kind of a real nice, a real finely designed and integrated technology platform that would give us the opportunity to explore those other markets. And if the word market is offensive to you, it's not meant to be. That's just how it's described. That's how YouTube thinks of it. That's how YouTube content content creators. I have to read this text message. It's from Alicia. Alicia. Well, she was Alicia Carney, but now she's married. I forgot Gus's last name. Well, I won't be able to pronounce it. Shelley, what's Gus's last name? So Alicia says, we heard what you said about us, and you owe us cake and champagne. So I'm going to have to toss a party for them. Alicia, we're going to have a cake and champagne wedding party for you at my rec room right after I get from, I'll tell you what, right after I get back from, the weekend after I get back from Boca Raton, we will have a cake and champagne party. I will do that because I did talk about it, didn't I? Okay, so we've built this beautiful technology platform, the integration of analog media, digital media, software, lighting, cameras, et cetera, and we really felt like we wanted to try it out on in other market spaces, and we looked for one that was comfortable for both of us. You don't want to go into a market space for which you cannot produce content. We can produce content for, quote, this market, unquote. And again, I don't want you to take offense at it. We like this market. And I constantly say, if you think we're doing it for money, you don't know YouTube. If we were doing it for money, we'd be making a couple of bucks an hour. But we like this market, and we like the research. We're involved in the treasure hunt, so we're gonna stick around with this market. But we believe we have Shelley's done all the research. And the research tells us there's other markets in which we could produce content. And so starting in November, we're going to explore those markets. And, between a Gypsy's Kiss and a softer side, we're producing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 programs a week. Right, some of which are live streams, some of which are pre-recorded, and that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, not just in actually doing the programs, but in actually planning them, doing the necessary research to support them, and then actually, making sure the program takes place and does so in a credible way. So that's a lot of effort, and because of that effort, if we wanted to explore another market space, we don't have the time. Shelley and I are together twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We work, when we work independently of one another, we're in constant phone conversation or email or Zoom conversation. But we realized that we just didn't have any other time, so that we decided we'd have to take one of the days that we were investing in a Gypsy's Kiss and or the Thrill of the Chase and start using it to, again, test that other market. And so the day that we chose was Thursday because we have to be together. And so the day that what had to be given up was the book club, and likely over the long term the Thursday softer side show. So that gives us Thursday to invest in the development of that other channel in that other market. And the difference between this market and that other market that we're exploring is that it's, I don't know, hundreds of times the size of this particular market. This is not a big market. We're limited in the number of subscribers we can eventually have in this market. So we wanted to go explore some others. Thursday is the day that we're going to do that, and that's why you won't see book clubs on Thursday anymore, nor will you see us for that matter, unless you have an interest in our in the new market, unless you're interested in that area. And it's very different from anything that we do, but again, we both have experience, and so we're just going to test it, see what it wants. We'll try it out for a year as usual, and if it works, it works. So, and the other thing that we had to do is accommodate the idea that one day somebody's going to find this treasure, and there is a very high probability. By the way, did you buy your lottery tickets? So just like this, there is a very high probability that we will not win this, or that we will not find the treasure. So we have to accommodate the idea that we're going to have to do something else. And so that's why we're exploring all of this. And I don't want you to think, so this is not, we will be on a Gypsy's Kiss on this channel until the treasure is found, or until you just get tired of being a subscriber and you go do something else. So Gypsy's Kiss is not going to disappear unless the treasure is found and there's no use for us anymore, which is hard to think about, actually, considering the amount of time and effort we've invested in it. So so that's what we're doing with that. But we'll continue. You'll continue to see us on Tuesdays. At a minimum, you'll see us on Tuesdays, Wednesday nights on the panel. And then, again, you'll see an It's All About You interview. Sometimes they'll be pre-recorded, as was the interview with Steve Gahagan today. And sometimes they'll be done live. And, you know, if you're interested in kind of testing our new channel with us, we'll tell you where we are and what it's all about, and then you can make a choice whether or not you want to join us in that effort over there. And then, of course, I'm going to keep doing the Friday Fenndango for the foreseeable future. And again, once I see the numbers falling off, then I'll figure out what else to do with Friday night. And you know, there's been criticism that we're taking a lot of space, a lot of time and space, and YouTube energy up on that. So it's better that we reduce the time that you see us. It's actually in good. Okay, so Alicia corrects me and says Gus is her new husband, and her new last name, if that's what she's decided to do, is Bonveri. I'll probably pronounce it. Let's see, Bonveri. It's pronounced Bonveri. Nice Italian name. So congratulations to the both of them. I'm happy for you, and I'm glad that you went back to Virginia. Gus's family, I think, is from that area, and that's how they ended up there. The only bad thing about it is apparently, for whatever reason, usually it has to do with the amount of rain that they got, the leaves haven't changed, so it's not as pretty as I expected it to be. I should have checked with my daughters, two of whom, I have two daughters and a son still living in that area. One of the daughters lives down in Boca Raton, which is where I'm heading in a couple of weeks. So, open Q&A. I've got some already. So let me go through what I've got. 1-800-947-1043. Send me a text message or call me, and we'll talk. I have a really hard time watching because I watch a screen that has the chat rooms from all four of the streams. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope/Twitter, and they're just screaming by. So I mean, they're already as big as anybody can imagine. So if you need to get a hold of me, or if you want to talk, or if you want me to read your question, send it to 1-800-947-1043. And I'm going to go back and look at some of the stuff that I received earlier in the week and see if we can address some of those. Hi, Toby. It's Pixie from Maryland. It's Pixie from Maryland, and she wants to know what her special effect is. So, Pixie, I do have the fairy dust effect, this one right here, but that's for RF Hecky. And so I'm going to have to find a new one for you. I guess I'm going to have to do a Pixie sound effect, and I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but I'll promise I'll do it over the next week. This is from Alan. This is the gentleman that's up in Montana that found the rock. So he sent me a couple of. We actually had a long conversation on the phone, and he sent me a couple of pictures of a blaze-like object that he had discovered, and then was disappointed to find there was something else completely there. I'm not sure if that's good grammar or not. So he sent me a couple of pictures, and I wrote him back, and I asked him permission to share them with you, and I haven't received a response to that. I haven't received a response, but I thought they were interesting. Okay, so we do have a voicemail. All right, so let's play this voicemail. Here we go.
Yes, this is Debbie Buffa again. I was just watching your interview where you talk about Olga. I think it is all about Olga. She is the special person and the special place. And I would be looking at Hanging Tree Canyon to Castilla Canyon, where he left her ashes. That's extremely important. And I do know what the blaze is. You got to think like a Native American. And if you think that way, everything makes sense. All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Debbie, thank you very much for calling in. The concern that I have with that area is that much of the area in that Fenn describes is on tribal land. I don't know if Costilla Canyon is, but I would be hesitant to go look in that area, go search in that area without taking my BLM maps with me to make sure that I hadn't trespassed onto tribal land. So. Let me see. So this must have come in on either Tuesday or Wednesday. It's Will from Tampa. How would he be able to hide the chest near where his car would be parked? The car would be the giveaway to the chest, in my opinion. Well, that's correct. I think that's why eventually. So there were two things that there were. Once Fenn got well, right after he had built out, this was all. So I'm talking about the 1988 time period. Once Fenn got well, the plan that he had to, hide the treasure and die beside the treasure went away. And if you listen to what he says at Moby Dickens, he said it spoiled everything, right? He didn't die. And therefore, that original plan that involved dying with a treasure never came to fruition. So anything about it is probably hypothetical at that point. But I kind of remember a conversation with someone, it wasn't us, in which he mentioned the problem of the logistics. He came to realize that no matter what he tried to do, somebody like Sean Martinez could could eventually find him, his body, and as a result of the treasure, if he had implemented his plan. There was no way for him to implement his original plan, which, as you say, involved parking his car somewhere, and the somewhere could have been as varied as the Denver Museum or the Northern Arizona University or the railroad station in Chama or someplace else. The simple fact of the matter is, if he had actually gotten to the point where he would have implemented that plan, the logistics of implementing that plan would have the tracking, if you will, the logistical tracking of what he did would have started the moment his family reported him missing, and would have gotten halfway to metaphorically speaking, halfway to where his body lay when they found wherever his car was. And I think there's a video that Shelley and I produced, and we created a scenario we explained how he could have parked at the Denver Museum and ended up placing his treasure someplace in Pecos. And we just used those two as an example, right? But eventually, and he even says in the preface in Once Upon a While that the 10th clue, the poem, would have been, he would have left that in his car. But the logistics of that never came to fruition. He never had to make that decision. I don't think he's made that. He would make that decision today. I can't imagine. And I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a recent interviewer suggested that, and he responded with, I'm too old for that. Well, it's more than that. He might very well be too old for that, although he is a very sprightly 88-year-old. The simple fact of the matter is there's no way to resolve the logistical problem. Sooner or later, he would have to be in a car. That car would have to be left someplace. He might have left, might have found a dozen different ways to gain transportation to wherever he was going to lay down with the treasure. But now he's not making two trips. He's got a 42-pound box that he's got to deal with, and he's got the logistics of getting from where the car was left to wherever the treasure is going to hide. And eventually, a good detective like Sean Martinez is going to figure that all out. So I don't think there's any sense that he's going to do it that way. Oh, Spanish. Toby, mis preguntas son las siguientes. Si una persona de otra nacionalidad encuentra el tesoro, ¿qué implicaciones legales tendría y por qué se evalúa en más de $1 million de dólares? Si son un poco más de 40 libras, 20 kilos de oro. Okay, so I'm going to answer this in English. So what the gentleman is asking in Spanish is, he has, he says his questions are the following. Number one, if a person from of another nationality, meaning from another country, finds the treasure, what legal implications would they have? That's the first question. The second question is, why is the treasure valued greater than $1 million American dollars if it's actually no more than 40 pounds or 20 kilos worth of gold? And well, first, let me address that one first. Number one, there's not 40 pounds worth of gold. There is less than 20 pounds worth of gold. It might be measured more if you use troy ounces and troy pounds. But it's about 20 pounds worth of gold. And if you look at the spot gold price right now, it's not going to make $1 million. I think the value, the values that I've seen for the treasure have ranged, all the way from $850,000, which I think is a more reasonable value based on the amount of gold in the treasure, to as much as $2.5 million. Every time, if you read the 4 or 5 articles that Margie Goldsmith has written, the woman who wrote the original Hemispheres magazine article, each time she writes a new article over the years, the value goes up by $1 million. And I think part of it is the fact that it's not just the gold, there's some ancient artifacts in there. And then I think there's a certain amount of brand value in it. I think the price or the value goes up as a result of the fact that it's a treasure hunt that is now 8 years old, hidden by Forrest Fenn, and there's this big story surrounding it. We actually think that at auction you should be able to get significantly more than what the face value is, what the numismatic value of the coins and the weight of the gold is. If you take the numismatic value of the coins, the weight of the gold, the gems, you're probably talking $750,000 to $1 million, somewhere in there. But if you talk about the fact that it's the Fenn treasure and that it has all this mystery surrounding it, and that someone was found it as the result of reading a poem, then the likelihood is going to go up just because of what is referred to as the brand value. And the brand value is the difference between the actual value, the numismatic, and the weight of the gold value, and the value as a result of all the marketing surrounding it. So the brand value, I think, is what you're referring to. That's why it's more than $1 million. And like I said, we believe that you could get significantly more than that if you just took the entire package with an unopened, the wax sealed jar, still sealed in wax, put it up for auction, and let the highest bidder take it. Because the people that could afford to buy it at that rates can't afford to go. I don't mean to can't afford. They're not going to go look for it, right? That's not what they do. They have the Hamptons to hang out in. So they're not going to look for it, but they would love to own it. So if you put it up at auction, you'll get the option, you'll give them the option of owning it. And then if they want to donate it to a museum or whatever, they can do that as well. So the other question is, if you're not an American, effectively, if you're another nationality, what legal implications do you have? That question I'm going to avoid answering. And the reason I'm going to avoid answering is because I haven't explored it, and I wouldn't explore it unless I was another nationality. I strongly recommend that you find two lawyers, one in this country and one in your country, who can advise you on the matter. And you, first of all, you have to abide by the same rules that we would have to abide by as Americans, and then you have the additional burden of having to cross the border with it. So I don't want to get anywhere close to making recommendations about that, simply because I haven't had to research that, and even if I had, I wouldn't give you the advice, right? I'm not qualified to do that. Qualified to make YouTube videos and warn you, of course, that these are all my opinions. Okay, check in the Fenndango on Friday night. That's when that's me. Is the Wood River near the border of Colorado and New Mexico? No, there is no Wood River on the border. There's 13 or 14 rivers that cross the border. None of them are named Wood. Oh, Jeremy has a long question. He says, quick question. That's pretty long. Okay. Quick question. With everyone in New Mexico believing the first clue is related to fishing regulations, that's not quite true, but we'll come back to that, and these finite locations are being scoured over, wouldn't logic say it is actually something else entirely? He once said, have a kid read the poem. It's that simple. I had my 9-year-old daughter read the first clue, and she quickly answered cold water. It has taken me in a new direction, and I'm looking at the area that feels pretty promising. An area that feels pretty promising. I'll be up there in a couple of weeks to do some recon. Just a question and a thought. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. So when he says I'll be up there in a couple of weeks, the implication is he's heading in our direction. We're in Albuquerque. We're far south of where the treasure is supposedly located. So I don't know. I can't tell exactly what he means by that. So let's go back to the original question. With everyone in New Mexico believing the first clue is related to fishing regulations, that is not true. I don't believe that everyone who is either in New Mexico or searching in New Mexico uses the New Mexico fishing regulations for their definition of warm waters. So he is right in that if everyone did use warm waters as their basis for beginning where warm waters halt, there are a limited number of places that would be scoured over. But honestly, like I've said in the past, I have been on 32 recons. And so if I exclude one recon to Colorado and another to Lander, Wyoming, I've been on 30 recons in New Mexico, and I have yet to run into another searcher, except for the lady that we met at the Osher Station cafeteria. What's her name? It wasn't Debbie. It was... I'll think of it. Shelley will remember what her name was. So if it is scoured over, we haven't seen it. We don't see it either in terms of the real personages, and we don't see it in terms of evidence of people having been there. The whole time we're there, the whole time we've been to, we spent our summer up at our primary search area. I think we made 6 trips up there. There was only one time where we saw a vehicle at the launch point. He was there for a little while. We imagined he was a fisherman, and that was all. That's it. Every time we go to a launch point, the launch point is left to us alone. Now, the area that we're going to is relatively primitive. There are no facilities. There are no, it's not developed, and it's not intended to be a developed area. There's no potties, and there's no picnic tables, and there's no fire pits, etc., etc. So If you go into, say, Cimarron Canyon, that's a little bit different. You are going to see a lot of people there. You may even bump into some searchers there. But in the area that we're in right now, it is A, remote, B, timely to get to. I'm not going to say it's difficult, because you can get there in a four-wheel drive vehicle comfortably. But it is a long drive. I mean, if you're going from Albuquerque, from Santa Fe, the difference between going from Albuquerque and Santa Fe is 3.5 hours versus 2.5 hours. So you've got to drive 2.5 hours up into Colorado. Then you have to drive forest roads for about 45 minutes. And then you have to drive a four-wheel drive track and cross a river for another 20 to 30 minutes. So it turns out to be, for us, I'll do it from Santa Fe because that's where Fenn is from. So for Fenn, it would have been a 3.5 hour drive. And when he gets there, he's got to go into Colorado before coming back into New Mexico. So you cannot get legally, I'm going to say this, you cannot get to the area that we're searching. Well, that's not quite true. I was going to say you can't get to the area that we're searching from New Mexico. That's not quite true. There are actually two ways to get there. One is you take the eastern approach to the Toltec Gorge. The problem is, by the time you get to the Toltec Gorge, you're on private property. There's a whole right along the river. There's a whole bunch of private property, and the research that I've done tells me that landowners not let you going to get any further. But then you have to navigate the Toltec Gorge to go further west. The second option is to use Forest Road 74, and everybody I've talked to tells me that Forest Road, our friend Lane, he was up there at the area that we call the beach with his friends. And he's the one that owns all the, what is it? I don't know, 9 Polaris vehicles. Is it 9 or 25? He owns a godly number of Polaris vehicles. And I asked him about that forest road, and his response, the one that comes from the south through New Mexico, to actually the same location. You'd be crossing the same Rio de los Pinos that we do from the other direction. But he said, it depends. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, it depends if you want to change your vehicle. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, it's the kind of road that once you drive upon it, it actually will have an effect on your vehicle. It'll change your vehicle, and it won't make it better. And so one of the times early in the season, I took a drive up there. You get to it from the Chama side. I took a drive up there, and I started that forest road, and I have a four-wheel drive vehicle, and I felt like this is not made for, if you have a Polaris maybe, if you're a hunter and you drive up to where the forest road begins and you start driving your four-wheel drive from there, I think that would be appropriate. But then to get from there on that forest road to our launch point at the Rio de los Pinos is an hour and a half on that forest road, because you're driving at 10, 15 miles an hour. So we haven't even attempted it from that side. I was going to put all of us in my relatively brand new Frontier through that. It's difficult enough as it is. Getting down the last mile and a half or so is challenging, but a four-wheel drive vehicle can do it. So I don't think that it's being scoured over. I don't think that there are a lot of people who are using the warm water, the fishing regulations, New Mexico fishing regulations, as the basis for their warm waters. And a lot of people could argue it's not that. As a matter of fact, I got an argument. One of the debate questions I got about this was, isn't it so simple? No, it's not that simple. You have to know Fenn. You have to know that he was a fisherman. You have to know the game and fish regulations and that they have that statement, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it's a simple solution to warm water salt at all. Okay, so there's that. I've created a monster here. So I can't always be online live, but usually watch later. I saw that you have sounds for searchers. If a Tulsa searcher is on, please use Gene Pitney's song, 24 Hours from Tulsa. There is also Tulsa Time if you like that one. Wasn't aware. So so I guess I've got to find a searcher from Tulsa. I don't know specifically Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? So if you're from Tulsa and you want your own song, I'll see if I can find. Now remember, I'm not going to play the entire song. I'm going to play about 8 seconds of it. So I I remember Gene Pitney. I remember a couple of songs, of his songs, but that was a real long time ago. Okay, that one's from Alicia. She's got the reminding me of Gus's name. Here we go. Okay. All right. So we're, oops, more. Hold on. This is Bo from Utah. In your opinion, is this metal or rock? Feel free to share the picture. Bo, the 800 number, unfortunately, doesn't allow you to send a picture. So if you do me a favor and send the photograph to gypsyskiss@gmail.com, I'll show it next Friday and comment on it. Okay, I can't get pictures on here. This is from our friend Paul Ammons from Texas. If you win the Mega Millions, in all honesty, will you still be engaged in the thrill of the chase as you are today? Paul, if I win Mega Millions, I will make a short video saying goodbye, and then I will be traveling to share my winnings with all my family members and friends. So that's the plan, because I couldn't possibly spend this much money in whatever life remains unless I was just I'm not that kind of person. So no, I would say an immediate goodbye, and I would say that I know most of you would forgive me if I were to say I won the Mega Millions. So a Gypsy's Kiss will no longer be producing videos. That's a really hard question. Why do you put me in that spot? So I might as well be honest, right? I'm not going to tell you that, yeah, I won $1 billion and I'm going to spend every day making videos. No, I am going to spend every day hiring I'm going to share my thoughts with you. So my entire life, since I started my first business way back in 1979, I've always had a good accountant and a good attorney. And I have a financial manager that I trust. But if I think about it, I can count my family and friends on two handfuls, right? The people that I really care about. And so my plan is to sit my accountant, my attorney, and my financial manager all in a room and tell them my plan, and then tell them how I have to implement them, because I'm not going to let them tell me that I can't do it. So I'm going to sit down and ask them what the best way to implement the plan is. And my plan is to put it in whatever financial institution that can protect most of it. I don't know if that's possible, but that's why I have an accountant and an attorney. And then I'm going to get settled, just let them make their announcement, and then I'm going to hire a private jet aircraft, and I'm going to travel all over the United States. And did you ever watch that movie, The Millionaire? It was, you probably don't. It's kind of it was about this man who would give a check, Michael something. He would give $1 million away, and the story was about the giving of them, how they selected them, and then they give it, and then how it affected their lives. And it was cool because some of their lives were affected positively, and some of the lives were affected negatively. So I'm going to go out, and I'm going to make checks out to, I don't know how much yet, millions, at least $1 million, maybe more. And I'm going to make checks to my family members, checks to my grandchildren so that they can pay for their colleges, their respective colleges, the friends that I've had over the years, and my ex-wives, because I think they deserve it for having put up with me. I'm just going to make that a little 6-month tour of the United States and do that. So I won't be making, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I like planning for stuff, and I like thinking positively. So no, I won't be making a Gypsy's Kiss videos. and I'll convince Shelley and Kevin to come along with me for the ride, at least for part of it. So they won't be around to make, and we won't be making the softer side videos, and we won't be developing a new channel. No, we're going to go make sure that money gets into the right hands, while I can still make sure it gets into the right hands. So, Paul, I was going to say thank you for that asking that question, but it kind of put me on a spot, Okay, so so look, right now the odds of me winning this is, I don't know, 800 million to 1. So I think you can expect that on Monday you will, at 1 o'clock, just wait. So wait for Monday at 1 o'clock. I will either make one video or the other. One video will be my lineup for the rest of the week, or the other video will be, hey, I won $1 billion. I'm gonna go spread it around my family. So I'm confident that I'm pretty confident that it's going to be the lineup video for the week. This is Journeyman from Missouri, Doug. If Forrest was worried about the car, it would be very easy to buy an old rusty junker with no history and park it in the state with pick it up thinking it's junk. Park it. Journeyman, you have to use periods. Park it. The state would pick it up thinking it's junk and nobody would know the difference, so the parking of car is not that big of the problem. All of this after he had the chest. Worst case scenario, he would get a ticket for bringing home a car he was going to restore. Yes, maybe, but that wasn't the scenario. And that's probably, and again, what you've done is increase so now he's got to buy a new car, buy an old car, buy a car, paper trail. Drive it someplace, paper trail, ticket someplace, paper trail. So what you're doing is the more complex you make it, the more likely you're developing an easier to follow paper trail eventually. Okay, hey Toby, it's Pixie. Oh, hey Toby, you can always use Journey's "Don't Stop Believing It" as my sound if you can't find a Pixie Dust sound for me. So that's Pixie from Elizabeth from Maryland, and I think Elizabeth is on our Facebook page, and I can't see, guys. For those of you on Facebook, I cannot see it on anything that I have here in front of me. So if you want to question, if you're on Facebook and you want a question, either send it to the 1-800 number or call in, call in so we can hear your beautiful Southern accent. Okay, this is Bo from Utah. Didn't Bo just send us one? In your opinion, is this metal or... Oh, it's the same question. Bo, you need to, as I said, you need to... 910. Okay, so give me a second. We'll accept that. We'll turn it over there. Hey, caller. This is Toby Eunice. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And what's your question?
Hi there, Toby. This is Terry Strickland calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Hi there. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well.
It sounds... Why do people with Southern accents always sound like they're doing very well? It always sounds like that. They always... a Southern accent to me always sounds very mischievous. I'm not sure why. Maybe that's how I want it to sound. That's my fault.
Well, then, I believe that you're going to like the subject matter that I would like to discuss with you.
All right. Well, let's go. Let's see what you got.
I would like to talk about kittens on a Friday night.
Kittens on a Friday night. Okay, so just give me a heads up. Does this have anything to do with the search, or is this just about kittens?
Oh, no. It has everything to do with the search and Forrest Fenn.
Okay, all right. Let's go.
Okay. I would like to know if you've noticed or if anyone else has noticed. In one of the pictures, the illustrations of Forrest Fenn's office, you can see a selection of books in the background. Mm-hmm. One of the larger books, interestingly enough, is called Music of Pythagoras.
The Music of
Pythagoras.
Pythagoras? Are you saying Pythagoras?
Yes, Pythagoras.
The
Pythagorean theory.
of the Pythagorean theorem.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know who the
So
author
the
is?
book is. Yes, and that's where it gets very interesting.
All right.
Her name is Kitty.
Kitty what?
Kitty Ferguson.
Uh-huh.
Her name, the book, The Music of Pythagoras, is written by Kitty Ferguson.
Interesting.
Who seems to be an awesome physicist, and has written a number of books about Hawkins.
Stephen Hawking's.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
When you go back and you look at the illustrations that we have before us in the books by Forrest Fenn, we sure do see a lot of kittens, don't we?
We do. There's kittens I know in the milking cow, isn't there? Aren't there kittens in there in the milking of the cow illustration? So how did you come by a photograph of his bookshelf that was resolute enough to identify the title of this particular book?
I don't remember if this is perhaps in some PR that's been released in the last few years.
Oh, I see.
Or if it is actually in one of the books. I don't remember. But if you zoom in, you can get a feel for the books behind him. And the Music of Pythagoras is there. And then I would also bring you to his usage of the numbers. You see him using the numbers 3, 4, 5. Also in another release, and this was purportedly a direct quote. He used the numbers 6, 8, 10. These are triplets. These are Pythagorean triplets.
Oh, you mean a squared plus b squared equals c squared?
Yes, sir.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't noticed.
He is. We are given a little snippet of what his brother Skippy was like, but my research indicated that Skippy was quite the physicist in early years, and I've never been able to get quite a handle on what it was Skippy, what he did with himself. We have a little bit of information, but I wonder just what kind of physicist did he turn out to be. But apparently, based on the books that are in the background of in his office, and the liberal sprinkling of kittens for us to be taunted by, I almost feel like Forrest Fenn challenges me like a kitten under the door, the kitten paw under the door. But come hither, Sherry, come hither. Yeah, 6, 8, 10. When the gentleman uses, when a gentleman uses in conversation numbers, we'll pick up 2 or 3, or pick up 3 or 4. But to say 6, 8, 10, that just doesn't seem to be in keeping with normal speech. And to know what are Pythagorean triplets and how they would still hold true. I believe it is in when he discusses the nails in the back of the truck. The numbers 3, 4, 5, I think, come up then. But that is not a. I love other people to weigh in about that.
Yeah, that isn't 3, 4, 5 is not a Pythagorean triplet.
3, 4, 5 actually is Pythagorean theory. I worked in carpentry before. I have an A in carpentry. And when you're laying out a form, if I was a mason or if I was a carpenter laying out a foundation, then I would use number 3, 4, 5.
Oh, interesting.
To square my corners.
So the implication is that you, in your research, believe that Fenn not only uses Pythagorean triplets, but he uses them with intent. Is that correct? Is that what you're theorizing?
Well, I believe it plays into if you read a little bit about the Music of Pythagoras.
Yeah.
It is rich with the idea that Freemasonry um, in my opinion, that Freemasonry plays a role in this change.
Well, and we know that Forrest wasn't a Mason. Did I lose you?
Yes.
We know that.
Yes.
We know that Forrest was not a Mason, right?
But there's a big difference between Freemasonry and Masons.
Oh, okay, all right. So, you're
A man who works. when we read the book Music of Pythagoras,
mm-hmm.
it opens your mind to the role that Freemasonry plays. When we hear about Masons now, we assume that we're talking about a secret society that have handshakes and lodges and black balls. But
Mm-hmm.
essentially, Masons used mathematics, and they laid out buildings. And even Forrest Fenn has used the word that he felt like an architect.
Mm-hmm.
Masons use forms and Pythagorean theory. And the book in his library speaks that 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, and kittens may have something to do with this case.
So, have you
Meow.
have you read anything? Have you read anything written by Kitty Ferguson?
No, I have not. I have decided that I wanted to buy the book,
Mm-hmm.
but I've not broken off at it.
Well, it strikes me that since she is a well-regarded, highly regarded, and very visible physicist, it's probably some pretty heavy material in that book, don't you think?
Yes, and you would assume, Toby, that I'm too redneck and signet-sounded to even be able to break up any of that.
I beg your pardon, madam. I would not assume that. I would not tie that accent because I have a lot of friends who were born and raised in North Carolina and who had graduated from Yale and were working for the intelligence community with that accent, and nobody made that connection. So let's get. I want to get back to something you said. I want to get back to something you said earlier. How did you make the connection between Skippy and physics? Where does that come from? I hadn't heard that before.
Oh, really? I was able to find a picture of in his book.
You broke up on me. I'm sorry. Just do it again. It was you had seen a picture of Skippy with what? That's what I didn't get that. It sounded like you had.
Skippy in his book.
It keeps breaking up.
How about now?
Okay, that's good. So connect Skippy and physics for me.
I was able to find a picture of Skippy in his high school yearbook.
Yeah.
And it indicated he was in the physics club.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, but as I understood it,
We know that
Skippy didn't actually attend college either. Is that correct?
I've not been able to get information about it. It's like it's hidden.
Well, certainly something to explore. But let's get back to this Pythagorean theorem, and so let me ask the ultimate question: how does that help us get closer to the treasure? How does the understanding of how does knowing Fenn uses Pythagorean triplets and the Pythagorean theorem help us get closer to the treasure?
Do you remember I spoke with you about it being a time capsule
Oh, yes. Yeah, you did.
hidden in a foundation? 3, 4, 5. Meow.
Meow. All right, let me get onto these questions in the room. That certainly gives us a lot to work with. I have made notes, and
Thank you.
I will order a copy of Kitty Ferguson's book. If for
Enjoy your show.
if for no other reason, because it sounds like it'd be interesting reading.
Yes.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
All righty.
Good night. Always fun folks from North Carolina. So I wanted to address this thing from Michael Curtis. Actually, Michael, to clarify things for you, over my 5-year career in the service, I received 1 Bronze Star, 1 Silver Star, 2 Purple Hearts, a Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, Vietnamese Civic Action Medal, and then 2 unit citations, a Presidential Unit Citation and a Valorious Unit Citation. So that should answer your questions. The confusion that you're creating for yourself is that you can be wounded and not get any either Bronze Stars or Silver Stars for valor. Those are for valor. What you get if you're wounded is a Purple Heart. I hope that clarifies that for you. So, question from 860 Christy. Oh, not our Christy, it's another Christy. Are you guys going back to the Sinks Canyon area? No, Christy, we don't have any plans to leave New Mexico from this point forward. We're comfortable that the effort, our research effort, indicates to us that Fenn hid the treasure in New Mexico. You can see now. Some people will claim that this is confirmation bias, but if you look at the research that we presented this week, we're pretty much convinced it's hidden in New Mexico. So, although we'd like to go, I still want to go back to Yellowstone. Just to be there and kind of experience it. We have no reason to travel outside of New Mexico at this point, and very specifically the area around the Rio de los Pinos. That's where everything takes us. Okay, let's see if we have any questions in the room. So, guys, I'm going to try and go through the questions in the room, but I'm going to warn you that this is going to take me a second because they go back, and it's hard to watch them all. And I think you guys are just saying hi. So let me say hi to folks in the room. So the first one looks like it was Maverick Searcher, 23 Monarcha. 23 Monarcha. We look forward to some of your commentary tonight. The Senator's Niece from the Lone Star State. Which senator is that? Share with us if you can. Wig Reeves, new name. I haven't seen that before. Cape Bro is Cape Pro in the room. William Ortiz. Holly. Hi, Holly. How are you doing? Sir Crow. Hello, everyone. Oh, kind of surprised to see you here. Holly. Dave Erickson. Hey, everybody. David Paisano. Oh, is that Paisano? That looks like it's off spell. What's up? Are all the phone lines busy? David, there are not all phone lines. There is only one phone line. So if it's busy, it'll put you off into voicemail. But as you can see, I'm not on a call right now. So if you want to call in, feel free to call 1-800-947-1043. Shelley Carney Productions. Is Shelley Carney still in the room? Toby Fan 3000, our 3000th subscriber. We're coming up on 3,600 here. We should be 3,600 in another week or so. Let's see. Hi, Janet. Janet's probably over on the Facebook side, I'm guessing. David. Hey, David Dow. Dale Richards. Okay. Shelley says the leaves haven't changed yet. Everything's still green. Yeah, that happens in the years where they get too much, where they have a lot of rain. Will keep the trees green longer than the evening. But hey, Sean Martinez is in the room, and my good friend Davio 22 is in the room. Paul Ammons. So, Sean Martinez, call me and tell me about your upcoming boots on the ground. Let's hear about it. Share it with the room. You don't have to give away any secrets. Let's see. Dale Richards, K-Pro. K-Pro, don't you have any news for us? Give us a call. Tell us what you got in the way of news. Steve Gahagan, my most recent It's All About You interview. It was fun. I don't know whether you've seen the trend in our It's All About You interviews. I'm trending towards getting more personal information. I want you to kind of meet the searchers, and so I'm moving away from the simple stuff like what state are you searching on. Although it seems to come out in the conversation, what state are you searching on? How long have you been a searcher? I'm moving towards what I used to do for a living, which is to get down to the personal stuff, the things that I want to know about them. I always Caper wants to know what market. We will make that announcement the week that I get back from my East Coast trip. So we'll talk about it, and again, we'll invite you. John Bobbitt. Hey, John Bobbitt, we haven't seen you in a while. How is your? So John sent us some pictures a while back about an RV that he was building and restoring, and some of the pictures that he sent were like, it doesn't look like it needs a restoration job to me. It looked like a pretty complete little product. So, Don Davidson, we and Shelley are hot on the trail. Yeah, we'd like to think so, but our season, that forest road that leads to our search area is already closed with snow. The one that stopped us last time in April. So, let's see who we got. Oh, there's Ask and ye shall receive. Hi, Christy.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm a packing. I'm doing great.
What are you packing? What is it that you're packing?
I got this great boots on the ground backpack from this guy named Jason Dent, and it comes with the whole survival kit, and that's going in my bag, and I'm getting on an airplane tomorrow.
Oh, was that the package that you talked about yesterday that you had received at your UPS store?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I meant to text you back like, oh, that was, yes. So, yes, that was it. I got it. Thank you, Jason. It's awesome.
How nice.
So I'm excited.
So that was the one that he was advertising on his new website. Jason Dent, who you guys know as Fenn Treasure Hunter, has set up a web page where he's actually selling treasure-related stuff or search-related stuff, and it includes that style of backpack that he donated to the Jamie Jordan raffle drawing. And I think he's got one of those compasses that it's not a lensatic compass. Yes, it is. One of the lensatic compasses that he gave. Oh, it was Dak. He gave it to Dak as his 500 when he reached 500 subscribers. And then the other thing that he's selling is an eTrex 30X GPS, which is the high end of the Garmin eTrex.
I didn't know that. I'll now have to go back up on his website.
GPS, and he has a real good price on it. It's probably 20% under, well, I wouldn't say, maybe 10% under retail. So you can go back if you need a good GPS. And the eTrex is nice because it's very compact. It doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that all the bigger ones have. And it's relatively inexpensive and a good GPS. So if you need one, buy one from him.
Yeah.
So,
yes. Well, the backpacks, the Army grade one, it's awesome, and then a very compact with every single little item you can think of, down from a Band-Aid all the way up to, weather gear, all of that, kind of all in a condensed little area, and it leaves enough room for maybe a 42-pound chest. I mean, or 40-some-odd pound chest. I mean, it'll be great.
Does it actually have government issue markings on it? Is this some?
No, it does not.
Oh, okay.
I think that was it looks exactly the same, but there's the one that I saw that is actually Jason's had it was like a Velcro that said Dent and had a emblem.
Right.
It doesn't have that part.
Okay. But it does have the Velcro strips on it on the front.
Yes.
And the Molly strips as well.
Yeah, everything else, it looks, I don't exactly remember, but it looks pretty identical to me.
And did you get the camo one or the olive drab one?
Oh, I got the camo one.
Nice.
I'm channeling the service people of the world.
Wow.
They're going to bring me luck.
So you said you were packing. Why are you packing?
Well, I have a work trip that I have to be on this next week in Albuquerque, but I tacked on maybe a day or two on each side because boots on the ground it's calling me.
So when are you actually? I'll only ask enough for you to share. Can you tell us when you're arriving in Albuquerque?
I am there tomorrow. My first trip is to see Cynthia. I don't know if you've seen her blog. She is going to be going and putting out an arrowhead, and she has asked me to go with her. And so something similar to the silver coins. This is our let's test it out to see how it works and taking pictures and doing all that process. So her and I are going out. I'll be with her this weekend. And we're going to do the arrowhead, I won't say burial, but the hiding of the arrowhead and kind of going through a process and doing the hints and all that to see how it works kind of as a prototype for the 47 coin project that will be coming up in spring.
So I can actually look for that arrowhead. Is that true?
That is true because I'm not telling you because only Cynthia and I will be excluded from this. No other people will know, so everybody is eligible for it. She just put it on her site and she said, "Hey, we were just going to hang out and have margaritas. What do you think about going on a little adventure?" And I said, "Heck yeah, let's do it." So I'll be working through the week, and then I got another weekend in Albuquerque, and then I'll hopefully have a treasure chest by the end of the week. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, very nice. So I would love to find an arrowhead, considering I think I've mentioned more often than not that in my entire life of being out in the field, I have never found an arrowhead. I would love to actually find an arrowhead. So is this a store-bought arrowhead or something that she found and decided to test out your silver coin theory?
Oh, you have the best questions. I know the answer to that, but I'll just say it's from a special person, and maybe she, you know what, she's going to need to answer that question. I know
if she
nothing.
chooses. Okay, all right.
You'll have to answer.
That is fair. It sounds intriguing, and I look forward to the announcement. So when is she actually going to make the announcement about this arrowhead that she's hiding, that you guys are hiding?
I don't know. She just announced it on her blog that she was doing it, I want to say yesterday or day before yesterday. And then she just asked me today, "Hey, since you're out here and we're seeing each other, let's do this together." And then I don't know, is it this search season, next year? I don't know anything more. It's kind of her project. So maybe have her on and ask her, at least have her call in. Or, hey, maybe Monday night. She already told me I could talk about it Monday night, but I kind of like Fenndango. I like to have all the good stuff come into Fenndango, so I scooped it early rather than on Monday.
Very nice. Well, we're grateful for that. We're grateful for the scoop, and we look forward to hearing more about it. Will she be on your show on Monday?
No, she's taking a break from the YouTube side of things.
Oh, okay.
And, I think probably a good thing to kind of lay low and kind of wait for the search season and research and just have fun adventures. So I don't think she'll be on. I might be wrong, but I've asked her many a time. She's a great guest, but I think she's wanting to. The places she wants to be is the positive places. Some of them are up and down right now, so she's kind of doing her thing.
That is, well, first of all, it's very generous of her. It's very kind of the two of you to go and hide it and make it available to searchers. And we look forward to the announcement. You know what? I do want to ask what your plans are for the next week or so, as much as you can share. I do know that we want to get together with you, Shelley, and I want to get together with you while you're here, if for no other reason than to drink margaritas. And I'm not going to ask you any more questions about what you just discussed so that you can talk about it on your show on Monday, and folks can tune in for that. So tell me what you can share about your plans for the week.
Well, so I have at least one boots on the ground. We'll see if I need a second boots on the ground. I actually sent you an email, but it was only about 10 minutes before. I have a couple of searchers I'm meeting up with, just fun things that are happening. I love to play poker. I love to go shooting. There's a couple things that I'd love to, if you're open and available. And then, of course, getting together for a couple margaritas. Of course, I'm not sure if anybody's heard. I don't think anybody knows that there were some maps for sale on eBay. I may have won them, and I'm going to pick them up this week. And there's a little bit of craziness in Santa Fe. There's some crazy guy that tried to get into Forrest House, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a difficult time. But I'm definitely going to pick up the maps, and Cynthia's helping me with that. She has a big old truck, so it's going to be
Tundra, Toyota Tundra. She should be able to carry all your maps in her truck.
Yeah, I think it's about 700 pounds. It has the rack. The racks are going to her as a thank you to helping me get all this situated. We're shipping them. We're kind of putting them away. We're going to let things settle for a little bit. But I'm looking through maps this weekend. So this week. That'll be fun.
So what day if you don't mind me asking, are you picking up the maps?
I will say I'm not going to share that for some of the security weird things that have been happening.
That makes a lot of sense. So when it comes to poker, we have several options. We can set up our own poker game, but we do have good poker rooms at both Sandia and Route 66, which is where I normally go. And they're open 24 hours. That's a nice thing about them. And I'm a late night poker player. I start my poker playing usually between 1 and 2 in the morning and stay till about 4, but I'll accommodate whatever you need. And then if you want to go to the shooting range, I know that, as you informed me, I didn't know this prior to last week, but Cynthia's partner is a nationally ranked, is it pistol shooter or all-around shooter?
Yeah, she sure is. And she has full access to one of the, because she's so high ranked, she has full access to one of the ranges that she shoots in regularly. So yes, she is. So you are invited if you'd like to join us. But that is her thing.
Well, if for no other reason to learn some of her tools. Now, my shooting is what they refer to as self-defense shooting. It's not, unless she's doing practical shooting versus target shooting. But I'd just like to watch her. I love looking at somebody who has the steadiness to do that kind of shooting. It always amazes me, and I'd love to meet her. It's interesting because I started looking through all my shooting magazines to see if she's mentioned in any of the competitions, but I didn't know specifically what I was looking at. I don't know what kind of competitions she participates in, and I do know that I think you told me that she was nationally ranked, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
didn't know that.
She's amazing, and she is wonderful. I haven't gone out to the range with her before. This will be the first time, but she's wonderful. She's very nice.
Well, I look forward to your being here. And I hadn't checked my email. I was getting, my checklist. So I was getting ready before the program started. But as soon as I'm done, I'll look at the email shared with Shelley and see which days are best for us to meet up with you. So you're going to base camp in Albuquerque or Santa Fe?
Albuquerque, but there will be some time in, I'll just say other locations. Maybe Santa Fe. It may be 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe. It may be a little bit further out, but it will definitely be around Santa Fe.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a fun week for you. So can you tell us, you said you were here in Albuquerque on business. Can you tell us what the business is?
Oh, it's boring things that I do. I travel about once a month,
for
maybe
conferences?
Once every 2 months, and so that's not the fun stuff.
Yeah, no. Well, if you end up at the convention center, you're 5 minutes away from me, so we can get together for coffee when you can get a break.
Excellent.
So, all right, what else you got?
I don't know. Monday night, I am going to try to actually stream from Cynthia's. So, because I don't trust the hotels to stream enough. So that's going to be an experiment. But other than that, it's going to be a fun week. But don't take my silence if there's any issues. I'm traveling. I'm going to go find a treasure chest, hopefully, and meet up with some great searchers.
Well, if you don't have quite the performance you need to stream your program from Cynthia's house, you're always welcome at the Gypsy Kiss Command Center here.
The command center. Oh, I've got to see the command center.
Yeah,
so
you
I
have to
might
at
take
least
you up on that.
you actually have to come by and at least see the command center, which of course, as I've mentioned in the past, is my living room. But yeah, you ought to come by. It'll be fun.
Okay, I might take you up on that.
Yeah, I think you should. I mean, I got the tech.
Well, let's see. Mike has a command center too. I've seen him.
Oh, that's
on
true.
The,
Yeah, he's
the
got.
webcam,
Yeah,
so,
and he
maybe
did.
I'll like, okay.
And he's doing some OBS and too, because I saw his presentation today, from today, or rather it was from last night. I saw it today, but it was from last night, about this new treasure hunt he's working on, and he's doing some OBS and too. So he's moving along pretty well in terms of his learning curve.
Yes, he's been wonderful. Thank you, Mike. I think you're in the room, Mike. Thank you for. I mean, I just show up. He does all the stuff on the back end. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. You're wonderful.
Well, that would be good to get him into the conversation on Monday. But seriously, if you guys don't have enough performance over it, not that I'm gonna try to overshadow Cynthia, because I love Cynthia, but if you guys don't have enough performance to get it pulled off, let me know and we can do it here.
Okay, sounds
All
great.
right. Okay, doke. Have a good evening.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Night, everybody. Bye.
All right, Christy from the Raven's Nest. All right, so let me go. I got a couple of questions that came in while we were talking that. The phone lines are now open, so if you want to call and talk, put them in. So this is the senator's niece from North Texas. She said, my uncle is former California State Senator, Dan McCorkindale. I remember him. But I was listening to random YouTube videos, and on one of yours, someone asked a question that involves the size of a grapette bottle, and that is how I ended up here. My grandmother's cousin was Gulnair Thornton Fuchs. That's a complex name. I'm going to say that again. Gulnair Thornton Fuchs, the wife of B.T. Fuchs, the inventor of grapette. Wow. So the senator's niece has quite the thing going on. So let me make sure I read that again. So she ended up here. My grandmother's cousin was, I'm going to spell it, right? It's Gulnare, Gulnair Thornton Fuchs, and it's spelled Fooks, the wife of B.T. Fuchs, the inventor of grapette. So say hi to the senator's niece. She has some thrill of the chase, Fenn storytelling blood in her as a result of this relationship with the folks that were the founders of grapette. I need to clear my throat. Just give me a sec. So let's see. Oh, gosh, there was a whole bunch of questions from 402. So 402, do me a favor and send me your Pro Deo and Veritas. In God, there is truth. Leach Kroga, is that, am I pronouncing that correctly? All right, let me see what, let me read that again. I'll bet it's pronounced Loch, Laoch. So I'll bet it's pronounced Loch. So Toby, some questions for you and the group. Why does no one? Okay, so no why questions. There's no way to answer a why question, right? Because it makes an assumption that we cannot be aware of. I'll ask the question, but I can't answer why questions because I don't know what the assumption is. Why does no one ever talk about the key shown next to the treasure box in the images of indulgence and the thrill of the chase? So we don't know the answer to that question, right? Because we don't know what assumption you're making. So the best thing to do is see if you can figure out how you can configure the question. Hang on just a second. Caller, could you hold on just a second? Let me finish this response to this question. I'm not going to do the whole question. So when you start with a why question, it makes an assumption, and because it's your assumption, we have no way to answer it, right? Why aren't we talking about the key in the treasure chest? We don't know. it may not be important to anyone but you. But if you can reconfigure the question, then we can come up with an answer for you. Locke, as soon as I'm done with this caller, I'll go back and start reading that list of questions you sent. But if they're all high questions, I'm sorry, if they're all why questions, it's gonna be difficult because we can't answer those. Let's see. So, hey caller, you've reached the Gypsy's Kiss. What's your question? Who are you? Where you're from? And what's your question?
My name's Kelly Hunt. I'm from Texas, Amarillo, Texas.
Hi, Kelly. How are you doing? I go through Amarillo all the time.
Good. Yeah, I think you have a great show. I've watched your blogs a lot, but I haven't called in or texted or anything. But really enjoy you and Shelley.
Thank you. You're very kind.
I have a question. I'm 58 years old, and when I was younger in my 20s, I was a tour guide in Red River, New Mexico, tour. And I've been out in the wilderness a lot, since then, trout fishing and things like hunting. And but I had a question, and maybe you covered this, but how do you feel? As you know, when you're out in the wilderness, the geography changes.
Absolutely.
As far as the snowfall, the creeks. I've been hunting a couple of years, and of course everything looks different from Google Earth, when you get up there.
Right. Absolutely.
And so how do you feel he would hide it? Do you think he would in the wilderness? Do you think he would hide it in a fake rock, or glue it to a cliff?
Yeah. No. I mean,
how would he put it? How would he hide it so that it wasn't covered by a landslide, something like that?
So I do not think, so I'm going to express my opinion here. I don't think it's possible to hide anything in nature without the expectation that at some point in time the location could be changed by the elements. And Fenn has said as much. He said that it's possible that the location could be changed by an earthquake or a rock slide, or I'm not sure he used rock slide, but he did mention the word earthquake, and that the chest could have been affected by a fire had there been a fire in the area. So I have a couple of theories on the matter, and they can sound very offensive, and I don't mean them to sound offensive. So the first theory is that he had a plan. What we have to accept is that sometime prior to 1988, he had identified this location that he called a special place. And we don't know when. Our theory, I'm going to express my theory here. Our theory is, meaning Shelley and my theory is, that sometime after 1972, when he arrived in New Mexico, he found his special place. And that in 1988, as he was dealing with the diagnosis of terminal cancer, he started to plan, and he decided that he was going to place this chest in his special place, the one that he found sometime after our theory, sometime after 1972. And for those of you that don't have the New Mexico theory, you can go back as far as his childhood. Let's say it was Yellowstone. What he would have to have known in at least 1988 was that the place that he had selected hadn't changed from the time that he discovered it to the time that he decided to place the treasure. And that would have been either 1988 when he was dealing with his diagnosis of terminal cancer, or 2010 when he actually did hide the treasure. So the assumption we can make is that between 2010, when he hid the treasure, and when he discovered his special place, it hadn't changed enough for him to cause him to say, I can't hide it here. This is too much change. Or even worse, I can't hide it there because I can't find it anymore. Like you, every time I go out, and I went to the same location 6 times this year, and every time I went out in just this summer season, there was something just a little bit different about it, even if it was the level of the water, right? So you have to count.
That's right.
Right? Exactly, because the level of the water changes the dimensions of your search area. if the water level is high in the spring, your search area is smaller by the level of the water and how it approaches the banks. If you wait till the fall when the water level is lower, and especially this year because we had a very dry season, you have a whole bigger search area than you did before, whether or not you believe it's in the water, right? So I think what we can be assured is that between the time he found the treasure between the time he identified this special place and the time he hid the treasure, it didn't change enough for him to say, I can't find that place, or it changed so much it's no longer special, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I can, based on that, I can be confident that it's not going to change over what geologically is a short period of time, let's say 100 years. Right? Geologically, 100 years is not a long time unless, as he claims, there's an earthquake or some other natural disaster, a rock slide or a massive canyon-high flood, those kinds of things that could change it. I think we can be confident that as of this moment, 2018, the special place looks pretty much the same as when he discovered it, whenever you believe he discovered it, right? And that could be Yellowstone when he was 8 years old, or for us, it could be in New Mexico after 1972. Now, I think, and I think that's why there's an important geologic component to all this, because the same applies to the blaze, right? If he had any sense that the blaze was going to somehow change in a geologically short period of time, he would have to rethink that location, because then the critical clue, in my opinion, there's two critical clues in the poem. One is where you start, and the other is where you end. The others are important, but if you don't know where to start and you can't find where to end, all the others don't make any difference anyway. So he had this moment where he had to convince himself it was possible that where you start and where you end was not going to change significantly. But he has also said that if it's 1,000 years from now, he cannot possibly predict. It's the effect of, in science they call it entropy, the slow change in the structure of the surrounding atoms. That's what entropy is. Entropy is the dissolution, the change, the falling apart of atoms, and it's going to happen whether it's a granite rock or a tree. So he's got. I'm willing to bet that there's a point at which he recognizes that no matter where it is, eventually that location will experience the effects of entropy. As for now, I am very confident that the location in which he placed it pretty much looks like how it looked when at a maximum he found it, and at a minimum when he placed the treasure. And I think that's the important geologic component. What do you think about that?
I think that's an excellent explanation of it. My experience has been go to the same spot about 6 times, and everything's changed except for the small cliffs,
right?
That have pockets in them.
Yeah.
Things like that.
What would worry me? What would not worry me? What would concern me? Not worry. Would concern me is that if I read an announcement from the Forest Service that said the cliff on which the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad runs above our search area failed, and that cliff fell down into the valley below that incorporates our search area, right? News like that would... News not that I hoped people were dying in the train and things like that, but if suddenly we woke up one morning and the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad through the Forest Service announces, the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad will not be running from Chama to Antonito and vice versa this summer because the cliff that was holding up the train tracks below Osher, meaning east of Osher, failed as a result of a minor earthquake and fell into the valley below. That would be like you just changed my complete solution, right? And that's
Right.
that's for us. So I would be worried if I was any one of the searchers, and I had a very good sense of where I was searching if I heard there had been an earthquake in that area. Because like you said, your search area changes without earthquakes. It's the result of entropy. It changes in 3 to 6 months. It'll be different next season than it was this season. Now, it's not going to be a big change unless there is some form of a natural disaster, I guess. That's what you have to consider.
Right. Well, the other thing I would tell my new searchers, because I lived in Red River, New Mexico for 3 years when I was younger, is that the bears are real.
Yeah.
So be sure and take a bear spray, and I always take my 45 with me also.
Yeah, I recommend people to take bear spray. I'm hesitant to maintain weapons because I think, or suggest weapons because I think that builds a level of confidence that, you probably know as well as I do that in order to carry a handgun as a backup, you've got to practice weekly, and you have to practice on the kind of target that's going to create the kind of stress that a charging black bear is going to create.
Yeah, that's right. Under stress, you do have it.
Right. And so if nothing else, it's going to make a lot of noise, and that may be enough to have him back away. But the bear spray for sure. I mean, people think we're kind of nuts for taking bear spray into northern New Mexico. No. There are black bears who tend to be aggressive at certain times of the year in northern New Mexico, and we've never run into one. And I prefer to keep it that way.
Well, in the many years I've been up there, last year I did run into a bear on the trail, and he was about 40 feet in front of me uphill, and I gave him the space and went around him.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is something for people to keep in mind. Yeah.
So, I think you're okay making the assumption that entropy has not affected it between the time he hit it and now. That when he hit it in 2010, he could say to himself, "This looks a lot like the place that it was when I first discovered it." So that could be as long as 60 years, So he's fine.
Okay, thank you for your advice, and thank you for your show.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it. You have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, the lines are open again. So let me go back here. And I know there was some. Okay, so let's see. So let's go back here to some questions. They can't answer the what question. What if Forrest really intended for the 8 bronze bells jars to be found? Perhaps they aren't proxy items that leaves the indulgence. Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps people are underestimating their value and worth in the search. That's a possibility. Let's see. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah, Locke, it says it's Gaelic. The questions aren't really questions, but more like food for thought. Okay, so I think that's fair. Make sure. So he's no IF veteran. Operation Iraqi Freedom from 0809. The last time I was in Iraq was 2005. All right. Okay, so that's the last written question. So phone lines are open. Let me see if I can go back. Let me go back to the chat room and see if I can go through there. So Michael, Michael, I think it's interesting that you're interested in my military service. So the highest award for valor that I have received is the Silver Star. You know that the Purple Heart, because although it's not for valor, is ranked just a little bit higher than the silver. In the grand rankings of things, it's Bronze Star, Silver Star, Purple Heart. I did receive two awards from the Republic of Vietnam, and that was the Cross of Gallantry with a gold palm and the Vietnamese Civic Action Medal. And then I received several over the time that I was there: Presidential Unit Citations and Congressional Unit Citations. So the blue and red ribbons. And then, of course, I had a CIB and jump wings, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope that settles that for you, Michael. Let's see. Let me go through these real quick. You know what? I'm just going to go to the top and start from there. So phone lines are open. Text lines are open. Call them in. 1061 Shot says, I wrote down every number written in the book. There was a few repeated. Minotaur. Oh, he's talking to K-Pro. Julie Smith. Davio, we said hi to. Debbie Teal. Steve Wayne, he's 6. Okay. So I think, are we going to have an early show end tonight? Let's see, where are we time-wise? So time-wise, we're only at 8:37. Oh, no, that's, sorry. Minotaur Moreno, Gypsy Kiss. So anyone want to know my first solution ever? Minotaur, I'll tell you what, Minotaur, probably easier than sending it or typing it into the comments box below. Go ahead and send it to me at gypsykiss@gmail.com, and I will share it with the room next week. How's that? Minotaur, you know what? While I have seen rattlesnakes, I don't see them in the search area that we're in. Other than that, we don't see much else. We see a lot of non-poisonous snakes, but that's because a lot of the area that we're searching right now has grass. It has grasses, which is why they allow the cows to graze there. Oh, got a call from... This could be trouble. Did I say anything bad about Sean Martinez tonight?
No.
So how are you doing, sir?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing just peachy.
How's the show?
So far, the show is good. I had a lot of questions come in. I had some questions from the beginning of the week. So far, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. 11 Bravo to Papa is in the house. Was Christy was talking to you about your boots on the ground? Is that this weekend?
Well, it was initially planned for this weekend. That's what the plan was, but I did go in for a oil change this week, and the mechanic invited me down into the pit to show me some minor damage that I had sustained
the last time
during my treasure hunting. So we've had to look into that.
Oh no!
However, I don't think it's going to be anything that would prevent me from getting out there. But it was something I was unaware of, and I knew exactly where it happened and where it came from. You know how you had mentioned earlier on the show that some of those roads in northern New Mexico could change your vehicle. That's exactly what happened.
Well, what was funny about when he said that, when Lane said that, he said it with a level of seriousness that I hadn't seen in him prior to that. But, I said, well, what about that southern route we're using, Forest Road 74? And he said, only if you want to change your vehicle, Absolutely. And
It really does.
So were you on, was it Forest Road 74? Or another
No,
Forest
it
Road?
wasn't that. It wasn't
Oh,
that
okay.
specific
All right.
road.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting some feedback somewhere.
Okay, from me or for you, are you hearing an echo?
I'm hearing an echo.
Okay, so here I've been trying to adjust that, and what I need to do is turn this back a little bit. So tell me. So I'm going to talk. I'm going to count to 10, and tell me if it gets better or worse. Okay. 1, 2.
You got it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Does it change at all?
It did change, but I'm hearing myself being
Okay.
repeated.
All right. So let me do the same thing. So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to go to the left and then to the right. Okay. So you count, and I'm going to move the knob, and you tell me what sounds better. Okay.
You got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Better.
Okay. All right. How's that?
So it's good. It's
Okay.
good. I can just barely hear myself in the background, just barely.
All right. I can even turn it down further. So let's try that. There's a point at which I won't be able to hear you, but let's try that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. Good.
So no, it wasn't that forced road, but I can tell you it was up in that general area that I ran into some issues. Then again, some of the deep arroyos that I've taken my vehicle through have provided some pretty difficult terrain. However, with a 4x4, you just put it in four-wheel drive and go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I really enjoy. I don't know whether I mentioned to you that when we went out at the first time in April. At the time, I was driving an SUV, but it was a front-wheel drive SUV. It was a Kia Sorento, and don't get me wrong, this was a great little car. It only had like 65,000 miles on it, and I loved it. It was roomy, it was comfortable, it had a lot of things. And it had been out in nature, but it had always been kind of a controlled environment. It was along the Pecos, along the Rio Grande, along the Cimarron, et cetera, et cetera. So it had never really been challenged in a four-wheel drive kind of way.
Sure.
And then when we were headed up towards that area for our first recon, I started reading about it and what would have to be done. I started looking at the maps, and I realized I wouldn't be comfortable with a front-wheel drive vehicle other than a four-wheel drive vehicle. So I ended up renting one. And the only four-wheel drive rental that they had at the nearby, what is it? Not Dollar, but the green one. What's the green one? Enterprise. They had a Ford F-350 four-wheel drive that I literally had to pray to Jesus to get up into every time I had to get up into it. Anyway, so it was the right vehicle for where we were going, but there was a point at which even this vehicle couldn't have made it through the snowpack. It might have made it down, as Kevin and Shelley and I agreed. It would have made it down, but we wouldn't have been able to get back up. So that's where we decided to stop. But literally that was a Sunday, I think, or Saturday. Came back Saturday night. On Monday, I went to the Nissan dealer and I said, okay, I want to trade this for something with four-wheel drive. And I decided that the approach I was going to take up until this point, for years, I've owned SUVs. I haven't owned a pickup truck since probably the mid-2000s. I used to buy the Dodge Ram four-wheel drives. And up until that time, as I got progressively less, active, if you will, I didn't need to carry a bunch of soccer stuff in it. And so I'd been going with the SUVs and been very happy with them, but I've never had bought. I don't feel like what I drive in New Mexico was four-wheel drive. It was a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive in some cases. But I went and I decided to go back to the pickup. But again, I don't need a huge pickup. I'm a single person living alone. I'm not, my
Absolutely.
own. So I went with the Nissan Frontier four-wheel drive and got their SV model, so it had certain improvements. And then I put a what do you call it, camper top on it, a matching camper top. So I'm very happy with it, and it's done everything literally as rough as it's gotten in the area that we're searching. I don't mean rough. I mean, any four-wheel drive could do this. But it gives us a lot more confidence. And when you're with your friends, I'm taking my friends into an area that I want to make sure nothing bad happens to my friends. And so
Absolutely.
I really feel, what kind of four-wheel drive do you drive?
I have a Ford F-150 FX4.
Yeah.
Black in color, and it is lifted, so there were some areas that I was able to navigate a lot easier had it not been. I did run into, on my last boots on the ground, I ran into some muddy roads that were pretty interesting, the way that the rainfall had gathered and collected, and they were passable.
Yeah.
The forest roads, of course, are pretty well maintained by the Forest Service. However, if you have to turn off of one of those in any area, you could run into some more difficult terrain. There was one point, due to the rainfall, it appeared to be, for lack of better words, a small pond in the middle of the road, and we had fun just pushing our way through that.
Yeah,
but,
I actually look for those on the road just so I can splash through them.
Sure, and but it's been exciting, and it gets me anywhere I need to go. Of course, always taking into consideration, could a 79 or 80-year-old man in a sedan, whether that, depending on your definition of
We've
sedan,
had this, you and I have had this conversation.
Gone this way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Could have gone this way, and that's going through your mind the entire time. Up to the parking spot near launch point.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to consider that, and we've done that in the past where we're just driving, and at some point we all go like, he wouldn't have hit it here. There's no way he would be comfortable as an 80-year-old man. Because the other thing that you have to consider, whether he was driving a sedan with four-wheel drive or not, at some point you have to consider, I'm 80. And if I get into trouble here, as a result of muddy roads, it starts raining, I got caught. Uh-oh, doggone it. I just lost him. All right. Well, Sean, please call back. I don't know why I lost you. But, Sean, please feel free to call back. Okay, one freebie for everyone. Let's see, Finding Forrest Fenn by The Wolf. Read it. Okay, so this is again from Locke. He says, Finding Forrest Fenn by The Wolf. Read it. Pay attention to the triple omegas and the last page, the whole book. Oh. All right, well, I'm going to say it because he wrote it. So he's making a suggestion. This is Locke. Here we go. Sean's calling back. I'll read that in just a sec. Hold on. Okay, you back?
I'm back.
Okay, all right. So
I'm not sure what happened. I did lose you there for a second, but always keeping that in your mind. A 79 or 80-year-old man, should he get into trouble here or stuck or whatever the situation may be, keeping those in mind as you're out there, boots on the ground, navigating to your launch point is a good idea.
Well, I agree with you, and it's like I said, it's one of the things that we considered. We get to a point where we say to ourselves, you know what, this four-wheel drive can do this without any question, and we can do this without any question, but an 80-year-old man who's all by himself, right, could he do this? Would he do this is an even more important question. So I get a sense you always have to keep that in consideration. And I thought the quote that we got from one of the guys, from someone, I wish I remember his name, so forgive me for not remembering your name, where he wrote a comment. That's what it was. He wrote a comment on my blog posts, on the blog post that had our panel from the other night, and he modified it, and he said, don't go where a 58-year-old man who's suffering from a terminal case of cancer couldn't go. And that really puts a completely different other perspective on it, because The location that he hid the treasure didn't change between the time he was 58 and the time he hid it when he was 80. That didn't change. And so you have to consider when he's dealing with this when he was 58 in 1988, he had to figure out that I can't go someplace with his chest. However, at that point, the issue is not the weight of the chest. The issue is his health. I was going to read a letter tonight that I received from one of our viewers, and he agreed to let me read it, and without mentioning his name, and he did a very detailed description. He was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 52, and over the next 6 years, as he fought with it, how debilitating it was. He described it and he said, I thought you should read this so people know what you have to go through when you've got cancer. There's operations, there's chemotherapy, there's these other protocols that they put you through, and each one of them has a different debilitating effect on your body. So I think it's one of the things that we have to consider from this point forward. I'm sticking with that quote. Don't go where a man with a terminal case of cancer couldn't go.
Very good.
I guess what I should say is don't go where a smart-ass 69-year-old couldn't go either. So.
Well, and considering it's a one-way journey when you're in Fenn's mindset he would be going in, and all he had to do was make it to that marker,
right?
That special place, and will and determination can get one who is even in those circumstances to their end point if they know exactly where they're going.
Right.
So I had a question for you, Toby. Yeah. Have you ever considered utilizing horses in your pursuit of the treasure chest? And in addition to that, has Forrest discluded ever utilizing horses to go to a special place at any point in time?
I've never heard him exclude the possibility. I think he's never indicated that he necessarily used them. I think the challenge for me, so I grew up with horses, and so I have kind of a workman's perspective. We had a ranch up above Taos, near Red River, as a matter of fact, and that belonged to my father's side of the family, and so that's how I spent my summers. And I think the issue for me with horses is that they make the trek faster and easier, but at the expense of maintenance. Horses are high maintenance vehicles, Yes. And I don't mean but not only are they high maintenance when they're on a trail. There's the maintenance of carrying them in a trailer. There's the maintenance of ensuring that they're fed and watered. There's the maintenance of making sure horse A, who doesn't like horse B, isn't near horse B, et cetera, et cetera. So the only issue I had with it, and I've considered it, but the only problem I had with it is that they're for the benefit. So we're small scale solution guys, right? So our entire solution from the launch point is under 1,000 feet. And at that point, covering that territory with whatever track, so that's the length dimension. And then you have to decide, well, what's the width dimension? In the area that we're in, having a horse would not help us in terms, we know from experience that depending on how much observation we do, it's a 35-minute to 45-minute trek to the end of our search area. Okay, where it's the point at which an 80-year-old couldn't go any further because he's about to enter the Toltec Gorge. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's pretty obvious that unless you're, fully prepared for it, you're not going to go any further than that. So that's 1,000 feet. That takes us for 35 to 45 minutes, again, depending on observation. And there's a couple of areas that I wouldn't trust being on a horse. It's an easy walk, but I wouldn't trust a horse on it. And I don't think the horse would give me any additional advantage. Now, if I was up in Montana, say, where I had, established trails and maybe more open meadows and things like that, I might use it to cross a bigger space. But we don't have that problem.
Sure.
I mean, we don't, it's easy for us to go to our launch point. If I got really crazy, I could drive over the edge of our launch point down about another 150 feet, but it's not worth it. It's, that's how small our solution was. If I was dealing with a solution that was, 5 or 7 or 10 miles, then I think a horse would be worth the maintenance. A horse is like a helicopter, for every hour a helicopter flies,
Sure.
it requires 4 hours of maintenance. And horses are like that. And I don't want people who love horses. I don't hate horses. I just had to deal with them I had to take care of them in the younger part of my life. And so I know how they are. So, and I guess you have to ask yourself, maybe I can ask you, is your search area big enough so that it would be worthwhile investing in the effort to take a horse along with you?
I think it would be my solution in itself. I'd hate to give out exactly the square radius of it, but a horse. The reason I bring it up is in my process of figuring out Forrest. I'm attempting to do the things that he's done in regards to going into the woods, being there, sleeping under the stars or under a tree, which I was able to experience this last summer. Being on a ridge when a thunderstorm comes through there in the woods, and just putting myself into his mindset in his in the chapters of his book to figure him out. And that's part of my approach is putting myself in his shoes, which is something that has been successful for me in the past in figuring someone out. Actually. Attempting to mend your own mind with theirs to see what their next move may have been, and then going that direction. So that's why I brought up the horses. He has the chapter in the book where they went out on horses with a map, which of course we all know they burned.
Looking for Lewis and Clark.
Experiencing that myself as well. Exactly. Looking for Lewis and Clark.
Well,
but my search area, I would be able to say from my launch point. Did I utilize horses? I would be able to go into my search area and then spend a couple days there, and then back out much easier.
It could carry
not that he couldn't launch from where I do and walk in and walk back out a number of times in an afternoon, but in the search process, it could assist in just the time that it would take in and out.
Well, I agree. I agree that if your search area is big enough, a horse would be helpful. I don't think you're saying that he used a horse, nor that you care to imply that.
No.
It would just be helpful for you in your search, especially if you were planning to be there for. Yeah, I mean, if our search area, so if we had decided to spend multiple days, we're past the age where we don't want to be in a hotel, right? So. If we were going to stay in our search area, I wouldn't go any further than our launch point to camp. I would make that 35 to 45 minute walk each day we were staying up there. But a horse would help if if your search area was 1 to 2 or 3 hours and you were planning to stay up there a week, a horse would be very helpful.
Sure. Another thing I was going to talk to you about was confirmation bias, but we'll save that for another time.
Hey, we're going to talk about it next. That's our theme next week.
Yes.
It's an art.
It's been on my mind.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's an art form, the art of confirmation bias.
Exactly. I love it.
So when you go back into the room, you're going to have to defend this whole horse thing.
Of course, and that's natural. But figuring out Forrest, and actually, this past summer, I've been able to put myself in his shoes a number of times while out in the field, looking for the chest, and experience some of the things that he experienced in the chapters of the books, and it's been very beneficial for me in my pursuit of the chest.
That's the key. Figuring out Forrest is definitely the key to all this.
Absolutely.
So, all right, sir.
Well, thanks, Toby.
Thank you for calling.
I'm sure that this evening.
We'll talk next week, and I love the conversations we have.
Absolutely. Good evening.
You have a good evening. Say hi to Allie for us. Okay, so while I was on the phone with Sean, my partner Shelly called in, so I'm going to call her back instead of waiting for her. So let's give her a call, see if she'll answer. Very neat. I can call out.
Hello.
Hi, Shelly Carney. What are you doing?
I'm watching you on YouTube.
Oh, how do I look?
You look the same you always look.
So
I've been hearing things about you.
What have you been hearing?
I heard you ripped open your shirt and you were beating your chest and just running around like a gorilla. And now I hear that Cal Lasers is going to be doing the same tonight. So
Oh, my gosh.
I'm worried about you guys.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
I leave one weekend, and this is what happens.
Yeah. I think you have to trust is what you have to trust is that either Christy or Cynthia is going to make sure that doesn't happen for us. But yeah,
Okay.
I had a moment. I had a moment last night, so I'm kind of glad you weren't there because when I went back and looked at it, I thought to myself, that was probably a little bit more dramatic than was required for that. I could have just said, I don't play down, So,
Well, you do like to be dramatic sometimes.
yeah, I
yes.
do. I know. I'm sorry for that. But and it wasn't a story that you haven't heard before anyway. So how is your trip going so
true.
far?
Well, it's good. Today we, well, you know what we did. We went to my daughter's little marriage ceremony, and poor Gus, he got in trouble from his family because, he didn't invite the whole world to be there, and the room was only big enough for 5 people, and so it was full with just the 5 of us. So. And then we had a good day. We went to Harper's Ferry, and we got to see part of the Appalachian Trail.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm scoping that out for those gold coins I hear we're going to be there.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, it is part of the Appalachians, and it is along the Appalachian Trail. So did you get some pictures up in that area? Because it's very photogenic.
We did, and of course it would have been a lot prettier if
there had
the
been
fall colors
color.
had been there.
Yeah, is everybody making excuses?
They were just starting at the tops of the trees, a little bit of yellow, but
well, it's funny when you walk, especially like in the smaller towns like Harper's Ferry and Leesburg and some of the towns out at the edge of the metropolitan area, because people go out there, right? They go to restaurants. It's a tourist attraction, right? And when it's late like this, 2 bad things happen. If it's late, it stays green, and then there is hardly any color. It just they just fall, and they know that, and it affects their tourist season, the fall color tourist season. So I'm sorry to hear that for them, because I know they count on that in some of, like I said, some of those outlying Middleburg, Leesburg, even as far as Boyce, where I used to live. But all those places count on that as part of the tourism. And when it's green like this, it's green, and then there is no fall color. They just drop, So that's that. But nonetheless, that area up around Harper's Ferry, where the Shenandoah and the Potomac come together to converge, is a beautiful area. It's just amazingly beautiful.
Yeah, we did go across the bridge, and then we came back, and we went the long climb up to Jefferson's Rock. And halfway up, I was like, "Why are we doing this? I need a reason, because this is a lot of climbing."
This is what Toby does.
Told, because this is the most beautiful view ever. It's worth crossing the ocean for. And we get up there, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not seeing it." I'm coming from New Mexico, so it's really pretty there and hard to compete.
It is. I think you have to have. I'll never forget when I moved there from New Mexico. I had a friend invite me for a hike off the Shenandoah Trail, off the Appalachian Trail in the Shenandoah National Park. And so we parked in a parking area. We put our packs on. We headed down the trail, and within, I don't know, 100 feet, it was like, well, it was summer, but it was like walking through a green tinted cave of trees. You couldn't see, 10 feet either side of you. And I thought, how is in New Mexico we have these wonderful open spaces where you can see everything and stuff like this. And it was just green. And for a long time, for a couple of years after that, I just didn't feel like going hiking if it was all going to be about, a green tunnel. But later on, I found other hiking places. But I think you have to have, I think it's like, growing up in the Southwest, you get an appreciation for the beauty, what makes up the beauty, what people call beautiful in the Southwest versus what people call beautiful out east. Washington, D.C. in the fall when they do have color is really beautiful. But if you're not a deciduous tree person and you prefer the open spaces of the Southwest, it would be very different for you.
Although I do have to say, we stopped at the Hillsborough Winery. It was the Hillsborough Vineyard. I can't say it.
Hillsborough
Vineyard.
Yeah.
And beautiful, beautiful view. And, and we were singing Almost Heaven, West Virginia, singing the whole song. And
they do
having a good time and had our tastings.
The wine industry out there started developing about the time that I was within 2 years of leaving there, but it's gotten really, really big, and there literally are dozens of wineries, and they not only serve the wine, but they host. One of my daughters was married at one of the wineries there, and then and they're just they make beautiful locations like that. So I'm glad that you got to do that. I'm glad you got to do that kind of thing because Northern Virginia, that area, is known for that. So it's one of the things that you get to do. And it doesn't make any difference if you have a fall color. After about your third tasting, it doesn't make any difference anyway. So, Alicia.
It was a beautiful day, perfect weather. We had a great time.
Alicia and Gus are happy with what they've accomplished?
Oh, yeah, they're two peas in a pod.
Yeah, they really are kind of cute together. They're very, very compatible personality-wise. So
yep.
I'm glad they did it. Apparently now I've got to keep a commitment to Alicia to host a cake and champagne party at my rec room.
You got to be careful what you say because she watches.
Yeah. And we'll do that when I get back from visiting baby Everly in Boca Raton that first week in November. So
yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun.
Very good.
So when are you guys coming back?
We'll be flying home Sunday. We should be home by Sunday afternoon.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, let's talk Sunday evening, plan out the week, and then, of course, our viewers will see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I think they're going to be happy that you're back, from what I can tell in the room. So
they probably don't want to see you taking your shirt off anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Just get her back so he's not taking off his shirt, for God's sakes. So.
All right. Well, you keep an eye on cow lasers tonight.
I will. I haven't seen him is he actually in the room? I haven't seen him.
Yeah, he was in the room and he was making some big talk.
Oh. Ew. Sorry I missed it. I'm going to have to go back and see what he said. Let's see. Is he still in the room? So, okay. Well, I'll be happy to see you back on Tuesday. Safe travels until then. And give Alicia and Gus a hug for me and tell them I look forward to hosting a white cake and champagne party when I return from Boca Raton.
I don't know if she wants white cake. You better check with that. She might want chocolate.
Who serves chocolate cake at a wedding party?
We celebrated tonight with chocolate cheesecake, so,
okay.
You do what you got to do.
All right, okay. Well, find out from her exactly what she wants so I don't make a mistake.
Let me tell you about this cool candy store that we saw today in Harper's Ferry.
Mm-hmm.
So they have candies from the 1700s, 1800s, and 1900s that they've created from recipes and from what people were actually eating at the time. And I just found this one, Turkish Delight, and I've been wanting to try it ever since I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I got some of that, but they have every kind of candy you can imagine. It's just amazing. And they tell little, they have the history of the candies and nuts and seeds and things. And you walk around the store, and it's chronological.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off in the 1700s and takes you through the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very cool store. I recommend it if anybody's in the area. Check it out.
What's it called? I think I've taken the kids. We've been there, but I can't remember the name.
Oh, let's see. What's the name of that candy store we went today? True Treats?
True Treats.
Yeah.
I remember
True
going in to
Treats.
buy the flavored candy sticks. I don't know what they're not candy canes because they're just straight. But they had, I don't know, millions of...
They have licorice.
Yeah, they do have licorice.
Too, and they look like
So the Turkish Delight is a a taffy thing, right? It's like taffy.
Well, it's kind of like a gummy,
Oh, interesting.
But it's square, but it's a little bit softer.
And what flavor is it? What's the flavor? A caramel flavor? How is it?
The original flavor is rose.
Oh,
they use rose water.
Oh, that sounds very Mideastern. Because they use rose water when they make mekhle, when they make baklava, is rose water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why it's called Turkish Delight. It was a delight to the Turks.
Mm-hmm. The Turks they're sweet eaters. I got to say that about them.
Yeah, so check it out.
All right, so here I picked a theme for you as well. Hang on, ready?
Okay.
Do you recognize it?
No.
All right, I'm going to play it one more time, and you have to tell me what it is by the time you get back. Here it goes again, all right? 8 seconds worth. Hold on. Okay, there you go. So you have something to think about.
No, I have no idea.
Okay. Ask the kids. I'll bet you the kids know.
Well, they're asleep.
Okay. All right. Well, it is right there. It's a 11:15 there. So you guys better get some sleep if you're going to get to BWI on time tomorrow.
Well, actually, DC is tomorrow, I think.
Oh, you're going to try DC before you go to BWI? Oh no, it's Saturday. I'm sorry. So
right.
yeah,
right.
and then BWI on Sunday.
Yes.
Well, have fun.
All righty.
Love you guys. Enjoy your travels and safe travels on your return.
Well, thank you, and we will see you soon.
You will, I'm sure.
Behave.
I will. I promise. I'll leave my clothes on tonight. All right.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right. My partner, Shelley Carney. Okay. So let me see what I've got here. Let's see. Locke, you have so much to say, it's hard to pull anything out of it. You just call and we could. So 325, you call twice. Lines are open. Call me while you now that you get a chance. So cow lasers, I'm sorry I didn't see you before. That's my cow lasers theme. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. Okay, caller, you're with a Gypsy's Kiss. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question? Hey, so do me a favor. Oh, he had to turn it. Caller 325, do me a favor, and when you call, turn the volume down on your computer. Otherwise, it's going to give everybody feedback. So sorry about that. But feel free to call back. Lines are open. Let me see what time it is. Oh, dang, nabbit. You know what? I was supposed to finish this at 9 o'clock, and I am going to finish this at 9 o'clock. I didn't realize how long it had gone. So let's do our outro here. So, yeah, here we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Let me do that again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I hope we got some questions answered and some thoughts to think about for the next week. Make sure you join us next week. Our theme for the week is going to be the art of confirmation bias. We're going to talk about it on our Tuesday show, and then we'll roll it over into our panel. So make sure you join us on Tuesday. The lineup comes out Monday at 1 o'clock. You'll see our first vlog at I'm going to decline that because I'm trying to close out here. You'll see our first vlog on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I hope it was as much fun for you as it was for me.